My name's Rachel Gikonyo. I am married to one Eric Gikonyo. We've been married for 10 years and we've fellowshiped in this church for the last 9 years. We both came to this church as a couple, just me and him. And 10 years later, God has blessed us with 4 children. We have a daughter, our firstborn daughter, who's 9. And then we have a 7-year-old son, we have a 5-year-old son, and we now have a 3-year-old son.
My name is Phoebe Gital. I'm a mother of 2 children, 24 years and 20 years, and I am married.
My name is Eve Mwikali Mudhiora. I am a child of God and a wife, a mother of 2 children. My daughter is 12 and going to 13. My son is 9, going to 18.
My name is Pauline Mwekali, or many people call me Pauline Mavo. I'm married to the youth pastor of Regis Baptist. I'm a mother of 2, a 9-year-old Pazel and an 8-year-old Tehila. I'm born again. Been married for 12 years. I'm a counselor by profession, and I enjoy psychoeducating people on various things in psychology. Day-to-day life, I spend my days just listening to people and guiding people through solving their problems.
It's a learning process throughout. You learn from your children as much as they learn from you. And it never stops. Motherhood never stops. It just has different seasons. When the children are a lot younger, you have more say in what they do. But when you have adult children like I do now, 24 and 20, you listen to them more. You're not as judgmental. You want the best for them, so you'll do anything for them. So you're on your knees a lot because there are very many times you're telling God, could you help them understand this, or could you help them see it this way? So it's a great learning. And you had earlier, I think I'd seen a question, how would you describe motherhood? And I would say it's amazing, and at the same time you can't quite explain it, because you don't give up on your children. You love them always. It's unconditional. You want the best for them. So you're there to pick them when they fall and to help them and support them. You're their biggest cheerleaders. But they are too. As they get older, they're adult children, they too are your supporters and your cheerleaders. So it's a wonderful learning experience, and I think you're the better for it.
The moment I became a mother, I made the connection between me and my mother and the things that she had to go through, or the experiences she had. I understood her better, and even with her and her mother. So there is no book that you can read about motherhood, or a movie you can watch that can prepare you for motherhood. But it is a beautiful experience, and just every day, every season of motherhood presents itself with challenges and equal opportunities.
Being a mom makes you think like a movie star. You're always thinking how you will defend your kids. Like if a bad guy shows up, you even think you can pull that trigger. It just raises your defensive code, if I may say so. It also helps you. It makes you feel good because you actually have a people entrusted to you by God for you to shape them. So it makes you choose your words, choose your lifestyle very keenly, because you don't want to make mistake. You don't want to be blamed. Yeah, so it calls you to responsibility. It also makes you choose your activities. For me, I think parenting is time. So even church life, I'm not as active as I used to be in church, because I'm like, I need to give them time. So I choose activities that don't take a lot of my time, so that I have enough time in church and a lot of time with the kids. Yeah.
Well, motherhood is a beautiful challenge. And beautiful is the key word, and challenge also is it's also a key word in motherhood. So it's a beautiful challenge. It has its ups and downs, and for me, if I can maybe pick out one of the challenges I've had to go through as a mother, is having to raise a sickly child. My son was rather sickly growing up, actually from birth, and it was very draining, both physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, having to just see your child sick in and out of hospital. But I'm grateful that that season is behind me.
I think I went through a situation in 2013 where I was expecting a son, or our son was about to be born. No, the year our son was actually born. I went through serious depression, postpartum depression, and then into full-blown psychosis. That is where you are delusional, and it was hard for me and my son to be separated because I was totally sick. I think that was the hardest time of my life, and I wouldn't want to see any mother going through that. But what I thank God for is I recovered from it, and I think it partly informed why I studied mental health, because I would want people to know how to come out of it. In case someone has a mental health issue in the family, the first thing you do is give social support. I think you also have to work with a good psychiatrist, a psychologist and a psychiatrist, or rather a counselor and a good psychiatrist, because I think the combination of the medicine I was given, the many friends who came to pray with me and just support my child, even my mother-in-law just leaving her house to just come and live with our son. Environment had to be adjusted for me to get well. So the good medicine, and when medicine was finally pulled off, I just had these friends who just prayed with me and walked with me. Yeah, and then a lot of exercise just to balance out the chemicals in the brain. And since 2013, I've never been on any antidepressant or had any mental health issue. So it's social support, good medication, and a lot of exercise and good diet.
I had a major challenge when I was working at the bank. I mentioned earlier that I had a high-flying corporate job. And that job took so many hours away from my family, my children. I would often leave my child, the younger one, asleep, and find him asleep when I got back, and would totally rely on whatever the house help told me. But I came to find out that all was not well at some point, and it really traumatized me, and I had to make a decision between this corporate job or my children, and I chose my children. It was an adjustment, but I didn't see it that way. I remember telling my husband it's time that he now takes on much more, because obviously before that I was doing my part, but I couldn't compare or even think about the income versus my child. My child had been mistreated by my hustle. I found out that she used to beat him, and because he was so young, he couldn't tell me because he was barely a year old. And I hadn't seen all that because, like I said, I would often leave him asleep and often find him asleep. So that broke my heart. And I was like, hey, these children are not young forever, so I need to focus on the child now, on the children now, and focus on corporate life later. I was confident that when I was ready to look for a job, I would find a job because my skill set was still with me. And indeed, after several years, I did go back to employment for a short while.
The highlight for me in motherhood is when you have repeated something so many times and then one day you just see them doing it naturally. Oh my goodness, it brings tears for sure. You know you've just repeated, close the tap, switch off the lights, clean after yourself, and then one morning you just find these things have actually been done, that the lesson has actually been caught. And I mean, many mothers know this, that we tend to talk, and hope one day that this will be a lesson that finally is ingrained in your child's routine. I think for me, those are usually such critical highlights. Our children are not very big. And so, of course, the things that we're dealing with right now is really about cleaning after yourself and learning to say, please, thank you, may I have. And when you finally see them doing these things, it really is so fulfilling, because then you see that the lessons that you're teaching your children are actually finding ground.
I see motherhood as a continuum of, a sequence or a series of happenings, which are happy, some are not. And a highlight, there are several highlights. From the time that I learned I was expectant, it was a high. To the time when I held my child in my arms, to seeing the milestones that the children hit, as they grow, it has been such a joy. So I wouldn't isolate one, because it is life. It's not an event.
There are many happy memories in motherhood, but one that is really stands out, and I'm so happy I made that decision to leave my work, because what that allowed me to do was fully engage with my children. I was able to drop them to school, pick them up, go for all their athletic matches, go for their concerts, go for parents-children consultations. Oh, everything, I was there. And my children appreciated that. I remember when they would look out for me before a match started and see whether I was there to watch. It was wonderful. And being fully engaged meant that I was able to be with them on the same page. So I knew what was going on in their lives. I knew what they needed, what direction we should be looking at, and so on and so forth. So it was just wonderful. For me, that is a time that I do not regret.
There are many happy moments, many. But I think what I enjoy the most is when my kids bless me. There are times that they'll just speak their prayers and just bless me, and tell me, Mom, we love you. Mom, we know you care for us. And they pray sincerely with all kinds of prayers and supplications. So I really enjoy hearing my kids praying for me. I enjoy seeing them worshiping God.
I think for me, it's balance. It's balance, juggling all the balls, because it's not just being a mother in isolation. As I mentioned, you're a mother, you're a sister, you're a wife, you are plugged into a community, you're a girlfriend to some of your friends, and just being able to balance all these things, and not lose yourself completely into just motherhood, but know that it is important that you remain as a balanced individual. Because then if you let go of the things that you equally love, it's very easy to begin to find motherhood a drain, or to do it out of duty, And so for me, it's balance. It's not just a challenge I have gone through, but it's a challenge I continually go through. Because at different seasons of life, there are times that one thing of your life is demanding more of your time than the other. But I'm very deliberate about spending time with our children, about just the things I want them to know firsthand from me as a mother, and that means spending time with them a lot. There are simple things that our children will only learn because they are modeled in their home. And so as much as I know I have to balance between my work, between ministry, between motherhood, between all the things that I love as Rachel, I am very aware that motherhood does take quite a big chunk of it as well.
What would I tell a parent or someone who's getting into parenthood or is already a parent and is at different stages of parenthood or is facing different challenges, whatever they may be? Maybe you are raising a child with special needs, or a child that has become wayward, or a sickly child, or a talented child. Sometimes you don't look at exceptionally talented children as a set of new challenges for parenting. But whatever you may be as a mother, all you can do is what is within you to do. Be intentional, be present, okay? And then the rest, give it up to God.
Motherhood is a privilege, and it's a season. It's a season. We actually don't even know how long we have our children, and they don't know how long they have us. It's a season. So I would tell mothers, you have to give it a full focus. You have to be fully present. By fully present, I mean you being the primary caretaker and being the decision maker on what's happening to your children, especially between the ages of 0 to 2, because they're so vulnerable then, and they may be traumatized for life, both the children or yourself, depending on what happens. So it's important to understand or be ready for motherhood. I know sometimes it doesn't happen, sometimes it happens unexpectedly, but if it does, I would pray that every mother would just accept that situation and make the right decisions around that, so that the children are a priority. It's God first and then the children, and not any other way. If it means making a sacrifice, it's okay. The same God who got you that job will sort you out when you need to be sorted out. I'm very excited for mothers who are becoming mothers in this era of COVID or post-COVID. We've seen that now working virtually is acceptable. So I would encourage young mothers to negotiate for that. If you need to negotiate that you have a flexi time or be able to do a lot of time, virtually, work virtually, and only do minimal appearances at the office, as long as you produce, that should work, because that has been proven during this season. And that's what I'd encourage them.